Hello everyone, I'm Self-Evident 2, an Azul player who is still struggling to improve. This video is a game reflection where I made a huge blunder in a winning endgame position because of careless play. Also, I will share my thoughts on some moves in this game and the related tactics. This video will be targeting on players with some game experiences. I'm not commenting on rules and some basic things like you have to build a column and row 1 and row 2 is more valuable and something like that. If possible, I will make another video to talk about this beginner friendly stuff. Let's look at round 1. I have the first player advantage and there are 3 reds together. Usually we don't like to put them in the third row because it's at the edge of the board. Too early placing the tile at the edge will make our distribution not so flexible, as placing them too early placing tiles at the edge will make our distribution not so flexible as placing them at the middle. Also, it will cause more distance loss. By the way, I'm a subscriber of Alex's channel who makes videos of higher quality than me. He comes up with the term adjacency bonus, which I think might be better called distance loss, as I think it is easier to compute the exact benefit of every move by considering the loss compared to computing the bonus. So for the 3 reds, I need to put them in the 5th row. There's no way I can leave the 3 same colors in the dish. He chose to play 2 blacks in the 4th row, trying to block my 2nd column. It kicks 2 blues for me as a comfortable first player grab. First player token is always good. I chose to place it in my 3rd row, although it is not in the same column with the red. And in fact, I am still targeting for the 2nd column because of the existing 3 reds in my 5th row, but I'm not that hurried to finish it. It's usually not a must to get your column completed so early, as long as you can get things under control and ensure you can finish one column at the end of the game. This idea is a bit risky for beginners because you may end up with 0 columns, but for expert class players above 500 elo, it just makes your moves more flexible to get high value tiles like the blues. And then he continued to take the blacks to finish his 4th row. By the way, there's no way of blocking his black in my last move, because that will make the 4 blues emerge together, and this will give him a good blue at the 3rd row, and the first player token as well. I'm just not in a hurry to finish my 3rd row, because there are still 2 single blues. So I chose to take the 2 blues to fill my 2nd row. And these are standard moves. But I'm not a huge fan of his 1 black to row 5. I know he meant to block my 2nd column, and column further with tempo and try to build a complete color, but I'm the first player in the 2nd round, and it's just not so wise to be in need of the same color as your opponent when you don't have the first player token in the next round. And then I did a forcing move and make sure his second row is on the edge. He is forced to take 2 greens. And then they are all standard moves. He have to discard the blue. I have kind of the advantage in the first round, and the runouts of round 2 is absolutely great for me, as there are 3 green, which I need for completing my second column, and here shows the importance of the first player token, which I'd like to say is always worth taking despite the -1 point. This is a misclick. After I take the 3 greens, he chose to stick with his plan and take blacks away with me, which is understandable. And I have nothing urgent to do, and when you have nothing in a hurry, just go fill your bottom row as a waiting move. So I finished my 5th row in case the red was kicked together. And then he took 2 blues to row 2. And for me, the perfect color to fill the second row is yellow to avoid distance loss. So I'd like to wait until the 2 yellows will emerge together. So this move, I need another waiting move. I notice that there are 3 blues, and if they are kicked together, my opponent can have a comfortable third row, and 3 blue is of no value for me. We know that creating this kind of tile group is not good for me, so I took 1 blue for the waiting move and pre-block my opponent's 3 blues. And then he kicked the 2 yellows together, and I get them. And the power of waiting move is now shown. He then takes 2 blues, and now I made the first huge mistake of taking 2 reds onto the floor line. My move is aimed to control the last player, because after my move, there are 3 colors in the plate left, and color will no longer emerge together. But we need to remember what's the purpose of last player control. It's to make forcing move, and either to force my opponent to take unwanted tiles or avoid taking them myself. And in this case, there's a self-evident move that can achieve this goal. It's 1 yellow to the floor line. This move requires some simple calculation. In the case of taking 1 yellow, there will be 4 reds and a black in the middle area, and every player will have 1 move to play. Though the 4 reds looks very juicy to my opponent, but he had to take it as a price of losing the first row. Or he might put the red into the first row and discard 3 more points, and discard 5 more points. Either way is beneficial for me, and I can comfortably take 1 black to the 4th row to prepare my column. And this mistake of 2 reds tells us that the last player control is a tactic to achieve some other purposes, not the purpose itself. Despite the mistake, I'm still in a good position after the second round. But run out in the third round is not so great for me. It gives my opponent an easy chance to fill the green in the fourth row, which fits their third column very well. Also, I need red, green, or alternatively black for my row 2. But given my opponent is gonna use one black in their fifth row and only one red is drawn, so only these two groups of 3 green fit into my decks fit into my second row. This makes my moves less flexible. First, he takes 3 greens for the fourth row, and I also take 3 greens, so he is forced to take 1 green. And he did take it. His move seems natural, but it's actually a mistake, as it increased the speed. Speed control is also an important tactic in expert class games. We know that if we take the tiles from the small plates, then each side will have less moves to do in the whole round, and that's called increase the speed. On the other hand, if we take the tiles from the middle area, then we'll decrease the speed and each side will have more moves. And properly played speed control will be very efficient blocking and anti-blocking when your opponents need multiple single or double tiles. Just like in this scenario where my opponents need 1 blue for the third row, 1 green for the fourth row, and 1 black for the fifth row, as well as something for the first row and the second row. So completing all of them will take him 5 moves. Then if we manage to increase the speed, he will not have enough moves. What's more, colors will emerge together when we increase the speed by kicking the tiles into the middle area. That means he will have to discard more tiles in order to finish his rows. And that's why I chose to take 2 yellows. First, he need the 2 yellows into his second row, and I need my yellows for the third row. Second, the main purpose of this move is to kick 3 blues together and force them to discard 2 of them if they want to finish their third row. In this scenario where you are hoping to finish row 3, 4, 5 in the same column but can't make them all in one round, we should finish the third row first to reduce the distance loss and give you additional flexibility to score in the further round with your free third row. And as a result, he ended up discarding and look at this. As a result, he ended up discarding 4 blues and lost his yellow in second row, which cost him a distance loss of 5 points. And it's the fourth round. For me, the black is always the first to grab, because it's not only important for my column 2, but my opponent is threatening a complete color with black as well. So I take 2 blues. 2 blacks in my 4th row. My opponent chose to grab the first player token in order to control the black in the last round. There are still 6 blacks in the final round, so anything can happen with the blacks. Then I take the only black left to row 1, because in the case of 6 blacks in the final round, taking 2 black to 1 row, that's row 4, is usually easier than taking 1 black each to 2 rows. Then we make forcing moves for red. Here, actually the forcing move of 1 red is a mistake. It's also a mistake on speed controlling, because he needs single yellow or single green to finish his row 1, and also 3 greens or 3 yellows in row 3. So in this scenario, where there's 4 yellows and 4 greens in total, it's better to take 1 yellow or 1 green in advance to divide them, and then hoping to kick the 3 remaining yellow and the greens together. We can see that forcing moves often increase the speed, and in a round with fast speed, we need to pay more attention on the total number of each color in this round, and decide if it's necessary to divide them or do some pre-block, because they are likely to be kicked together if we do nothing about them and go with the forcing moves. And the remaining moves are standard moves. It's round 5. I still have 12 points advantage on the scoreboard, and the distribution of black is not too bad as well. I can have 2 blacks on row 4 with only 1 move. The first 5 moves are musts, and we'll go through them quickly. Through these moves, we are just exchanging values. Until now, I'm in a winning position here. If I simply take the 2 yellows in the small plate to row 5 and force him to do 2 blacks to row 5, then the columns and rows are equal, because I have 1 row, he has 1 row, I have 1 column, he has 1 column. And in the mini battle of row 1, I have 5 points, he has 8 points. That's -3. And also a -7 for row 2. And then minus a +2 because of row 5. And the floor line is also equal. And the floor line is also equal. We both lose 2 tiles in the floor line. So I will be at +4 overall. After he takes the black, I will take the 1 red to row 3. Then each of us will have to discard 2 more tiles. And eventually I will win by 4 points. And 1 black in the small plate to row 2 is also a winning move. But here I played too fast and didn't consider well. and eventually made a huge blunder of taking two yellows in the middle to finish my fifth row. The problem of this move is that, firstly, I will be the last player. Firstly, I will be the last player if he takes one black in the small plate, which is the correct move and it is very easy to find. Secondly, my opponent's one black move is also a forcing move because he's threatening to complete a color. So I will be forced to get another black and I will not be able to take the single red to the third row to avoid more discarded tiles. The third problem is that I decrease the speed by taking tiles in the middle area, so I will have one more move than taking from the small plate. And in the last moves of round 5, more move usually means more discards. And let's watch until the end of this game. At last, this blunder cost me 9 points. Eventually, this blunder cost me 9 points. Eventually, this blunder cost me 9 points and thus cost me the game. Now I'd like to ask myself, what can I learn from this game? Well, firstly, I must be careful with every move I play and don't play too fast. And in this game, each player makes two mistakes about speed control. So speed control and the related calculations like how many moves are left and what will each player get under the possible move sequence is one thing that we should keep in mind when we play. This is what I need to improve to be a better Azul player. And thanks for watching.